Your Voice, Shropshire Disability Network Newsletter, July 2011. Conference slams the cuts faced by disabled. The subject of disability and the cuts was high on the agenda at the annual TUC Disability Conference. This item is a summarised version of a report by David Lawrence. SDN Steering Group member Trevor Dickinson can provide the full text. The new Equality Act 2010 came into force this year, replacing most of the Disability Discrimination Act 1995. The DDA and the new Equality Act say that reasonable adjustment must be made, but if the person has not been given the job, the reasonable adjustments do not have to be put in place. Delegates spoke of reservations and concerns about the new legislation. The small business lobby is pushing for some of the rules, which now include them, to be watered down. A person who has been discriminated against can take the employer to an employment tribunal, but has first of all to stump up £250 before taking the case to the employment tribunal, ET. Cuts to disability living allowance. Recipients of DLA rely on it to pay for basics. Any cut would reduce the living standards of disabled people. The government has appointed Atos Healthcare to cut down the DLA bill. Delegates told harrowing stories of people who'd been denied DLA on flimsy evidence, and of someone who committed suicide on receipt of a letter from Atos. A presentation by the Black Triangle Society told of the black triangle patch which has been worn by disabled people in Nazi Germany, same principle as the yellow Star of David worn by Jews. The group is campaigning against the constant media message that all disabled people are scroungers and freeloaders and a burden on society, blaming the economic crisis on the disabled by constantly saying how high the welfare bill is or how much services cost, so that they are closed down to save money, is at odds with the fairness agenda the government talks about. Unemployed disabled people. Overall unemployment is 8.5%. 18 to 25-year-olds is 20%, and disabled people is 50%. Statistically, a disabled person over 55 years old has next to no chance of being re-employed. The rundown of supported workplaces is accelerating. Delegates told the conference that re-employ factories are closing down despite their profitability and ability to stand alone without any taxpayer subsidy. Equality and Human Rights Commission. Staff and budget have been cut by 60%, which limits its ability to discharge its statutory duty. The Public Bodies Bill, PBB, will threaten its independence by giving ministers the power to modify the EHRC's function without parliamentary scrutiny. The helpline is already closed, which puts disabled people seeking advice at a disadvantage. The PPB is an undemocratic and vindictive piece of legislation. Bullying and harassment. 47% of disabled people are victims of bullying in the workplace. The conference called for more training for TU reps to recognise workplace bullying. Increased time off by disabled people is used by managers to reduce their workforce in times of recession. The threat of redundancy can set off invisible disabilities such as stress and depression in susceptible people. Mental illness is a hidden disability which can reduce a competent worker to a shadow of his or her former self. The conference learned that 1 in 4 people each year suffer from some form of mental breakdown. The cuts in mental health services from an already low point is going to have an effect on a lot of people. People are afraid to register illnesses and disabilities due to bullying management using the illness to sack the worker. HIV sufferers are particularly susceptible to harassment. Shropshire Disability Network's campaign to coordinate the reactions of people with disabilities to government cuts has attracted the interest of Shropshire's media. This article appeared in the Shropshire Star on the 24th of May. Disabled urged to voice cuts concerns. A group which provides a voice for disabled people across Shropshire is launching a campaign to find out how the vulnerable are being made to suffer as a result of government cuts. Shropshire Disability Network is appealing to disabled people to contribute to a survey as part of its Hardest Hit campaign, which highlights the cuts being made to some of the most vulnerable people in society. Officials say the total cuts will mean an estimated $9 billion lost to family incomes over the next 4 years, on top of cuts to local care and support services. The SDN says the government's plans include cutting 20% from the budget for disability living allowance, taking mobility payments away from disabled people in residential care and children going to residential schools, and cutting off payments of contributory employment and support allowance after a year to people struggling to get back into work due to disability or serious illness. A statement from SDN says, Shropshire Disability Network would like to coordinate county-wide support over Shropshire for the campaign. It asks people to complete the survey at www.shropshire-disability.net, adding, "We ask for no personal details, just your postcode. It takes 2 minutes to complete. The campaign can also be emailed at info@shropshiredisability.net. Amiga launches motor neuron disease appeal. Motor neuron disease, MND, is a rare condition and usually fatal. Every year it affects around 25 people and their families across Shropshire and Montgomery. Amiga is urgently seeking donations, fundraising partners and sponsorship from successful businesses to help MND sufferers. Dr. Teresa Griffin, the Amiga chairwoman, who first encouraged the charity to begin working with families affected by MND, recently attended a royal wedding garden party organised by Mrs. Heather Waters to kickstart the charity's community fundraising campaign. Dr. Griffin said many people, including several unpaid caregivers attending Amiga support groups, had already offered to get involved. The charity aims to loan Apple iPad tablet computers supplied with synthesized speech-generating software to at least 10 patients over the next few months. The computers are a powerful and very cost-effective communication tool. They enable patients who are no longer able to speak to communicate with their families and clinicians. It costs about £600 for each iPad supplied. Amiga hopes to expand the project later this year. The charity works closely with specialist nurse Helen Harris, who has a growing waiting list of patients. Amiga would welcome financial support to help maximise the impact of this important initiative. To get involved, please contact Tom Memory, Amiga Development Director, or you can send your donation to Amiga, the National Association for End-of-Life Care, London House, Town Walls, Shrewsbury, SY1 1TG. You can call 0845 259 3163 at a local rate, or you can email carers@amiga.uk.net. The website is www.amiga.uk.net. Please remember to specify that you would like to support the Amiga MND project. Can You Prove That You Are Human? By Peter Beresford, Chair of National Service User Network Shaping Our Lives and Professor of Social Policy at Brunel University. It seems that the only way that disabled people can prove that they are human to this government is to have a job, no matter that the job market currently discriminates and excludes, no matter that not everyone can contribute through paid work, even though they can contribute in other ways, no matter that jobs are being lost and unemployment is rising each day. So, disabled people can expect to come under automatic attack because the discriminating world we live in too often just doesn't make it possible for them to pay their way, and being on benefits is presented as something bad and wrong. This is a brief extract. For the full article you can go to Shaping Our Lives, www.communitycare.co.uk//service-users-will-be-heard-we-be-listened-to. Ludlow Castle set for invasion. Contact a Family is hosting an event at Ludlow Castle for families with disabled children. An exciting day out for all is certain, with attractions including castle tours, Animal Man, and living history displays. The date is the 26th of July from 10 till 3. Book ASAP as spaces are limited. You can ring Jan or Liz on 0121 415 4624. Implications of speech and language therapy for deaf children. A few weeks ago, SDN got an email from St John's Catholic School for the Deaf in Leeds, asking if we would like an article for Your Voice. The answer was of course yes please, and here it is. We hope this will lead to a long and mutually beneficial relationship with the college. If you want to find out about St John's, the website is www.stjohns.org.uk. When a child is deaf, it may be difficult for him or her to learn proper communication skills. This can affect the child's interactions with his environment as well as social interactions. In many cases, a hearing-impaired child may not have appropriate speech patterns since he was not able to learn by using all of the auditory clues present in one's speech. Such problems can have a negative impact on one's educational progress as well as his interactions with others. This means that speech and language therapy can be an essential tool for deaf children, especially when done in an environment that encourages it, such as the St John's School for Deaf Children. Speech and language therapy is meant to improve the communication skills of those suffering from speech and language disorders, including those related to deafness. Therapists typically work with a child using a combination of classroom, group, and personal exercises. The therapist will have the child complete exercises that are meant to improve his ability to articulate words and interpret speech properly, as well as make him more aware of his environment. This specialised therapy is important for children suffering from many different problems such as autism, stuttering, deafness, language delay, voice disorders, and many others. While therapists are concerned with both the speech and language processing of their patients, they will often focus on specific exercises based on the child's needs. This approach aids the development of necessary skills that are needed in daily life. Deafness can hinder both the speech and language processing abilities of a child. As mentioned above, it can be difficult for a deaf child to learn all of the subtle verbal cues used in language. This can make it difficult to speak properly. A common problem is that the child will only hear the middle syllables of a word, causing him to drop the beginning and ending of words when he speaks. As can be expected, language interpretation is usually the core issue for the hearing impaired. When one cannot hear well, it's important that he is able to notice and interpret visual clues along with any auditory signals he can perceive. Attending a school that utilises speech and language therapy is very beneficial for a deaf child. These schools can incorporate therapy into the curriculum so that a child receives all of the help he needs without feeling isolated or having to attend separate courses outside school. Being in a class with others who experience similar difficulties can also be extremely beneficial to the child's self-esteem. A school for deaf children will be well equipped and ready to address any concerns parents may have about their child's progress. Institutions that regularly provide speech and language therapy will understand the need for a child to be taught from an early age. Younger, school-aged children will be better able to adapt and learn how to interact naturally with others, despite being hearing impaired. A school with a good programme and experienced therapists can be an important asset in determining a deaf child's progress and future quality of life. A school for deaf children can provide life-changing speech and language therapy. A child who does not hear well is likely to have difficulties in daily interactions with family, friends, and peers. Children should not have to experience these difficulties without the help and confidence provided by therapy. Speech and language therapy can provide the skills and experience a child needs to live a normal, healthy life. Integrate Theatre is proud to bring back Words, Signs and Vibes Youth Theatre. Come and join us, it's open to all and no experience is needed. This is a drama group for young people aged 13 to 19. It takes place every Saturday, term time, 4 p.m. till 6 p.m. at the Birmingham Hippodrome, Hurst Street, Birmingham, B5 4TB. The email address is angela@integratetheatre.org.uk, or you can contact 07515 939 806 or integratetheatre.org.uk. Summer events for deaf children and adults in the West Midlands. A play scheme for deaf children aged 8 to 14 will be held in the summer holidays at the Deaf Cultural Centre in Ladywood Road, Birmingham, on the following dates: the 1st to the 4th of August and the 8th to the 11th of August. The cost is £20 per week. Birmingham and District Deaf Children's Society is holding an activity day on Saturday the 16th of July at South Aston Church Centre, Upper Sutton Street, Aston in Birmingham. Please contact Peter Bird, 108 Farron Road, Northfield, Birmingham, B32 5HW for more details. Other events coming up: on the 5th of July, Gavin Bostock from High Speed 2 talks about the proposed high-speed rail service between Birmingham and London. The Norman Power Centre, Skipton Road, Birmingham, 1 till 3 p.m. On the 12th of July, Aston Hall Tour at 2 p.m. Cost is £3.50 and can be paid on the day. On the 2nd of August, Ruth Beer talks about emergency 999 SMS texts. This is at the Norman Power Centre, Skipton Road in Birmingham, 1 till 3 p.m. On the 23rd of August, Birmingham Football Club Tour at 2 p.m. The cost is £6.50 and can be paid on the day. Lady Gaga praised for learning sign language. The National Deaf Children's Society has praised singer Lady Gaga's intention to learn sign language to communicate with her deaf fans. Lucy Reed, Head of Children and Youth Participation at the National Deaf Children's Society, said, "We are delighted that Lady Gaga is making her music accessible to deaf young people by learning sign language. Many of her songs and messages tap into experiences that deaf people share, such as bullying and feeling different to other children. But Lady Gaga channels these in a positive way. We know that the news will be very well received by deaf children and young people across the world." If you're interested in learning sign language, take a look at the NDCS's website, www.familysignlanguage.org.uk. How parents can find out more. There are over 45,000 deaf children in the UK. 4 babies are born deaf every day, and almost all deaf children, over 90%, are born to hearing parents with no experience of deafness. Parents with concerns about their child's hearing can contact the NDCS free phone helpline on 0808 800 8880, or you can email helpline@ndcs.org.uk.